Hey, bestie. First of all, Merry Christmas to everybody. I have a story time for y'all before we go to bed, but you have to go get your snack, okay? It's okay. You can have a late night snack. It's okay. Get off the bed and go get a snack, bro.
Welcome to Eerie, Enigma, where the night attracts spooky clips from Tik Tok, where the mystery acts, chilling tales of haunting, shadows dance inside. Join us as we explore the paranormal fright. In the stillness of the night, whispers call your name.
Subscribe, like, and share.
Tonight, we've dug up some of the scariest Christmas stories on the internet. Enjoy.
Weird spooky Christmas stories. I came across this Reddit story recently. It was posted by someone who was remembering a Christmas from when they were 17 years old, and it was the first Christmas they had after their grandfather had passed away. They were confused, grieving, and just trying to make it through every day. On Christmas morning, she was sitting on the floor with her little brother. They were opening gifts when they noticed something unusual. 2 cards tucked inside the branches of the tree. And one of those cards had her name written on it. Nothing strange until she opened it. Inside was a short message, just 3 words. Love you, Peanut. Written in her grandfather's handwriting. That was the nickname only he used for her. And the part that made me stop scrolling, her grandpa had passed away 4 months prior in August and had never given her a Christmas card before. She says now her mom refuses to acknowledge that ever happened. But her brother remembers it exactly like she does. For years afterwards, there was a photo of her holding up the card. She said it wasn't until all of the grief that she and her family had been holding onto did that photo finally just disappear. She can't find it anywhere anymore, even though she always had it. What do you guys think this is? A final message? A glitch in memory? But her brother remembers it too. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, or if you've ever had an experience like this, send it my way.
Hey, bestie. First of all, Merry Christmas to everybody. I have a story time for y'all before we go to bed, but you have to go get your snack, okay? It's okay. You can have a late night snack. It's okay. Get off the bed and go get a snack, bro. Thank you. I don't want to hear none of that. I don't care if your back is getting big. Get that snack. Anyways, so there's this guy. Let's call him Mark. Mark submitted this story from something that happened to him a couple of years ago. Until this day, he has no explanation for it. And before this, he didn't really believe in anything haunted or supernatural, but now he truly, fully does. Hence why he follows my page. And let me just say, I like the guys that follow my page. I want more guys to follow my page. Wait. I realized how that sounds. What I meant was the girls obviously follow my page, but I feel like why can't guys listen to spooky stories too? I know I have a couple of guys that follow me, or maybe you guys are silent watchers. So if you're a guy, comment under this video. So Mark is a corporate guy. Mark went to college. He has 2 masters. He currently works a corporate job and he makes a lot of money. However, he works all the time and he travels all the time. So around the holidays a couple of years ago, he ended up having to travel to this really small town because his company was expanding into that small town. And the town was basically like trees and cabins. Anyways, he doesn't stay at a hotel since it's Christmas. He decided to stay at a cabin, basically like an Airbnb, right? So he books the Airbnb and whatever, and he gets to the house. Everything is great. They even have a Christmas tree there. And obviously, Mark is completely different from this town. Like, he's like a city boy, and this town is like, I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, he gets there, he meets his Airbnb host, they spoke, he's very nice. The host tells him that the neighbors are very friendly, like they're very good people. But the Airbnb host kept it a buck with him and told him, let me tell you something. If after midnight, there's a rule in this town, after midnight, you never open your door. After midnight, if you hear people calling your name, you hear people singing, whatever you hear, you don't. Because it seems like you don't know what kind of town that you came into, but I'm letting you know. And Mark thought that was like a weird request, but he was like, okay, I guess. Mark is like, is somebody gonna try to unalive me? The host is like, no, nothing like that. But there are weird things that happen, like supernatural things that happen here sometimes. And immediately, Mark is like, supernatural, these people are crazy. So he tells the host yes to just blow him off because he don't even believe in none of that. He goes inside the house. He's having a good time. He has a big meeting the next day because he's only there for like a couple days. That night, he's sitting in the room and he's watching TV. And he hears this faint singing. So he pauses the TV to figure out where the singing is coming from. He's like following the sound, and it sounds like it's coming from the front door. So as he's standing in the living room, he's hearing the singing. It sounds like Christmas caroling, but like not really. It's like he can make out some of the words and it sounds like it's a Christmas song, but like not really. Anyways, he's standing there and he's like, oh, I get it. I get what's going on here, because he looked at the clock and it was 12:02. He's like, okay, I get it. You guys are jokesters and someone is playing a prank on me right now. He's like, ha 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 ha. Who is this? Like, you guys are, I get it. It's 12 and somebody want to play a prank on me. So he goes and does exactly what the host told him not to do. He opens the door. Again, he doesn't believe in anything supernatural. So he's opening the door expecting people to be there or somebody to be running, right? Except when he opened the door, no one was there. And the thing that solidified it is there was snow on the ground, and there were no footprints. When he opened the door, the singing stopped, and there's nobody there. In his head, he's like, okay, you guys are good. You guys are good. Okay. So he closes the door, and the moment he closes the door, he hears the singing again. Except the singing wasn't coming from the front door; it was coming from the back door. Again, he's like, ha 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 ha. And as he's heading towards the back, he hears the singing still, except it wasn't coming from the back, but it was coming from the side window. And at that point, he's starting to get a little frustrated, and he's like, you know what, like, y'all, okay, I get it. Y'all trying to scare me, but this is not funny anymore. I don't want to deal with this. For the next 30 minutes, the singing was coming from all around the house. It was like circling the house. Ultimately, he decides to text the Airbnb host to tell him, like, hey, I don't know if this is a prank, but like, I'm trying to go to sleep. I have a big meeting tomorrow and this is not funny. He didn't get a response. And so he's like pacing around the house. And afterwards, the singing just stopped, right? So he assumed the Airbnb host saw his text and they stopped pranking him. So he does like a last minute all around the cabin check before he goes back to the bedroom to go to sleep. And then when he got to the living room, there was a shoe mark in front of the front door, but on the inside. And the reason why he knows it's a shoe mark because there was snow there. At that point, he's like, for sure, this is the Airbnb host pranking me because no one else has keys inside the house. And at this point, he's starting to think like, I don't even want to be here if this is the kind of guest, like, you're childish. Why are you playing games on your guests? So he sends a very not so nice text to the Airbnb host and he goes back to bed. When he woke up in the morning, the shoe print wasn't there anymore. And the Airbnb host had replied because at nighttime when he texted, the Airbnb host was sleeping. And the host didn't even say anything, but I'm coming over. The host came over and the first thing he asked him was, did you open the door? Did you open the door for anything? Anyone? Did you acknowledge anything? Because I told you not to acknowledge anything. He was like, yeah, I heard singing, so of course I opened the door. I think you guys are pranking me and I really think it's childish. And he starts going in and then, you know. The Airbnb host just stared at him for a few seconds and started to walk away and told him, hey man, I understand you're not from around here, but you need to leave. Mark is like, what do you mean I need to leave? What are you talking about? The host is like, believe me, I'm doing this for your own good. I will refund you your money, but you need to go to a hotel. And at this point, Mark is furious, but the host is not entertaining it. The host just leaves. And sooner, he got a notification that Indeed said that his whole trip was canceled and that he will be getting a refund. So Mark is furious. He's like, what the hell? Like, why would you even do that to me? And the host lets him know he needs to leave as soon as possible. Like, you need to get going. So Mark is furious. He's about to write the worst review he ever wrote in his life. And as he's packing and he's angry, he looks outside the window. And there are two women standing there in all black. They had no faces and they were singing. Except this time, when they were singing, no sounds were coming out. He says he doesn't know how to explain it. They didn't have faces, but he could tell that they were singing, but there were no sounds coming out. And they were standing at the window. And that's when it really hit him. The host wasn't playing with him last night when they told him, you don't know about this town and you need to not open a door for anything. And he got the fuck out of there ASAP. He went and got himself a hotel and the trip went a lot smoother. But after that experience, he very much believed in supernatural because he started doing research about the town and he started finding stories similar. He even found some stories of people that didn't listen and didn't make it. Ooh, the story time was 8 minutes, y'all. I hope it gets pushed out. Every time I do a story time longer than 5 minutes, it never gets pushed out. It glitches. There's always something wrong. That's why I be doing parts. I don't like to do parts. I don't want to do them. But, you know, whenever I don't do parts, something always goes wrong. But anyways, make sure you guys are subscribed to my YouTube channel. I just dropped a compilation video a few days before. So if you want to listen to story times from before without any interruptions, you know, go ahead on there, subscribe, and go follow me on Instagram. All right, good night. I love y'all. And let me know what you had as a snack, okay? All right.
Scary Christmas Urban Legends, Part 2. According to this legend, it was Christmas Eve, and a dad wanted to dress up as Santa to surprise his kids and wife. He got on his Santa suit and he decided to slide down his chimney. However, about halfway, he got stuck and died from asphyxiation. But it gets worse. That same night, his wife was like, let's start a fire, get in the cozy spirit. Shortly after, she realized a bad smell coming from the chimney. That's because it was her dead, burning husband. This legend always creeped me out as a kid. The scariest part is that this has happened before. A robber in England was trying to enter people's home through their chimneys, and, well, he got stuck. Obviously, the family didn't know that he was in there, and later started a fire, and, well, you know. So it's happened before. Don't climb in chimneys. Happy holidays. Follow me on YouTube for more creepy stuff.
Now, the official name for this story is called A Conjuring Book for Christmas, and it's straight out of the book The Demonologist. And for those who haven't read The Demonologist, it basically is just an outline of the career of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologist. Now, you know it's real when they have to be called in, so let's go ahead and get into the story. Our story begins in May 1978, and of course it would be the 70s because the craziest shit happened during that decade anyways. But I digress. Ed and Lorraine Warren are overseas in the UK doing some speaking engagements. They go on a couple of tours and they get done a little bit early, so they head back to their hotel room. And one of the things the pair do whenever they get home, whether that's to a hotel, an apartment, etc., is to check their call logs. But they check their answering machine, and they screen through the calls that might come in because by now they're pretty well known in the paranormal industry and they're pretty famous for the Amityville haunting they investigate. So at this point, they're getting a ton of calls with people asking for their help, and obviously with it just being the two of them, they can't address every problem that comes in, but they do take the time to screen the calls to determine which calls they can actually help out on and which calls they need to refer out to someone else. So they go through their call logs. First call, interest in another speaking engagement, we'll put it on the back burner. The second call on the list can also be put on the back burner, but it's the third call that unsettles the pair. On the opposite line was a mother, and she's absolutely frantic. You can hear the panic in her voice. Ed and Lorraine Warren are listening to the call, and she's detailing what's happening in her house, right? And you can just hear the hurriedness in her voice. Her children have been pushed. She's heard things moving around, and there's absolutely nothing they can do. They don't understand what's happening to them, and they know the only person they can call that can help them is the Warrens. Now, the Warrens have very good discernment, and they have such good discernment, they realize that this call is urgent and it needs immediate attention. So Lorraine Warren hops on the phone immediately and tries to contact this woman. But it's weird because every time she tries to contact this woman, the phone line does not go through. So she understands that there might be something interfering with the call. So she decides to get a little bit smart and she calls the operator. The operator, being kind and understanding, attempts to help her out, but the number does not go through. Now, I won't say it doesn't go through. What I'll say is that it does go through, but nobody picks up. And it's weird because there's a certain point in the conversation where the operator has stated that it sounds like somebody is picking up the phone, but nobody's answering. The line is connecting, but there's nobody picking up, period. So that's weird. The operator, though, is like, I can't help you out. Let me call somebody who can. And they call the supervisor that the operator has. Now, the operator supervisor, again, tries everything that they can think of. And the line goes through, but nobody answers the phone. Between the three of them, Lorraine, the operator, and the operator supervisor, they've probably called this woman no less than 20 times, and no one has answered yet. And that's a bit odd, because Lorraine at this point is starting to cue in on the fact that there might actually be something stopping them from being able to make contact. Based on what Lorraine has experienced so far, she decides that it's time to give it a rest, and she'll call the woman the next day. So fast forward to about 8 a.m. UK time, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. US time, and she calls the woman. Now, the woman picks up immediately. Now, keep in mind, again, it's like 2 or 3 a.m., and they make contact with each other. The woman is absolutely relieved. Lorraine is like, hey, I'm sorry this took so long. We've been trying to make contact with you. And the woman is like, I know, I've been waiting for your call. And Lorraine basically explains that she tried to call her 20 times, and the woman's like, hey, I get it. I waited up for you, but that is exactly what's been going on since the events in my house started happening. Lorraine is like, okay, give us some time. We'll be there. Now, fast forward some days later, the Warrens are back stateside and they're taking a drive in their car when all of a sudden the vehicle fills up with the most noxious scent. It's absolutely awful, rancid even. And the Warrens, they know exactly what's going on. But for those who don't, what tends to happen when the Warrens are about to investigate a case where there may be an inhuman spirit present is that this spirit will do something called interference. And interference is exactly what it sounds like. The spirit involved, whatever it might be, will try to stop the Warrens from coming in. And they may do this by creating the most unpleasant sensory situations possible. You might hear things, have bad dreams, your car may stall, you might smell noxious scents like decay, rot, etc. All of this is an attempt to stop the Warrens from coming to the house to investigate, because typically when the Warrens have to come in, that means banishment back to hell, and they obviously don't want that to happen. The same thing happened to the pair for a second time when they were sitting in church. Now remember, that's the Lord's house, so the fact that this entity was trying to do that in such a sacred place meant that the Warrens needed to move quickly. So they went home, packed their stuff, and headed up the road 2 hours to Maine. When the Warrens arrived on the scene, they were greeted by a family of 5, a mom and dad, Sandy and Al Foster, and their 3 children, Meg 15, Joel 14, and their youngest daughter Erin 11. So typically what happens when the Warrens go to investigate a case is that Ed will conduct interviews with anyone who's experienced the hauntings or anyone in the family, and Lorraine goes to survey the premises. Now the way it works for Lorraine is that because she's a clairvoyant, her clairvoyant abilities are said to be as strong as her other 5 senses, which means that while she's walking through a site, if there's something to be picked up on, she will certainly pick up on it. And at the end, once Ed has conducted his interviews, the two will come together and share their results. So this is how the story goes. It's Christmas Day 1977, and the family is sitting around the Christmas tree exchanging gifts. Sandy Foster, our mother, gives her daughter, Meg Foster, a Christmas gift. What is it, you might ask? Well, it's not a cell phone because it's the fucking 70s, but it's something even better. It's the gift all of the children want. It's a book of demonology and how to conjure demons, and Meg is absolutely delighted. So Christmas Day wraps up, they eat their dinner, and instead of watching a movie like a regular ass family might do, what do Sandy Foster and Meg Foster decide to do? Well, the obvious choice is to summon demons from one of the books. But because certain books have certain ritual and they may not have all of the ingredients needed to summon that particular demon, they found their household items and summoned the demons that they could. And so when nothing worked, the two went about their business and life went on as normal. Until it didn't. So fast forward some months later, and Meg is home alone with her siblings. She's in the bathroom doing her nighttime routine when all of a sudden the radio downstairs comes on very loud. She finishes up, heads downstairs, turns the radio off, looks around, turns the light off, and then goes back upstairs. No sooner than she gets to the top of the landing, the same thing happens again. So she's a little perturbed by that. She goes back downstairs, does another cursory check, turns everything off, goes upstairs, checks on her youngest sister, she's asleep, checks on her brother, he's awake. So obviously he was responsible. She confronts him, he's like, I didn't do that. And as they're talking, the water in the bathroom comes on. So she goes to turn off the water and comes back to confront her brother a second time. And again, he's like, I have literally not moved since the last time you were here 2 seconds ago. But by now, things are getting really weird in the house because the water she just turned off a second ago is running. All the faucets in that bathroom were on. Additionally, downstairs, the radio she had twice turned off by this point was up, super loud again. And now furniture is moving, and nobody is home except the 3 of them, and all 3 of them are upstairs. So again, Meg runs into her brother's room, the youngest sister gets up from her bed, and she runs in there too, and things are just going crazy. All of the kids are collected in Joel's room at this point, and they're terrified. But Meg eventually finds the courage to go downstairs and call her parents. Now, strangely enough, Meg noted that when she went to go turn off the faucets in the bathroom, the clock said 10 p.m. roughly. But when she went downstairs to call her parents on the phone, despite it only being like 30 minutes between that event and the next, the clocks downstairs said like 2 or 3 a.m. And then when she went back upstairs after calling her parents, the clock said 7 p.m. But luckily for Meg, she got a hold of her parents and they decided to come home early after hearing the urgency in her voice. But of course, as soon as they walked in the door, the radio was off, the furniture was just fine, just like they left it, and the only thing that appeared to be frazzled was the children. So after calming them down and sending them to bed, everything returned to normal. But that would be a weird place to stop the story. So Ed Warren continued to interview the family members and eventually got to the parents. He asked them all the routine questions. Did you experience anything? Have you heard anything? Did you experience anything weird or unusual? And of course the parents said no. It seemed like it was just relegated to the children, sadly. But they did make mention of a large tree that used to be outside of their bedroom window. This was a beautiful tree, home to many birds, and these birds would sing during all times of the day. And sadly, when they cut the tree down, the singing stopped with it and the birds found somewhere else to live. And that was until recently though, because as they started to recount the tale to Ed Warren, they started to realize that there was a bird that was singing outside of their window. But the strange thing is that birds don't sing outside of your window at night. Now, after Ed finished interviewing the parents, Sandy and Al, he went on to interview Joel, the oldest son, and Joel told a much more harrowing tale. So again, it was another great night out for the parents. They had actually taken their youngest daughter, Erin, with them this time. So the only two at home were Joel and his older sister, Meg. Now again, much like the first story, the two were just hanging out in the house, doing their own thing. Meg was laying in her bed, and all of a sudden she saw this purple, dark mist form in her room. And she had closed her eyes, but when she closed her eyes, she stated that she could still see through them. She clenched her fist, and it was as though something tried to pry them open. So she ran into Joel's room. Now Joel, who was sitting in there minding his own business, was alarmed when his sister came rushing into his room, because unbeknownst to her, Joel had been hearing things moving about downstairs again, and he decided it was just best not to investigate because he was safer in his room. But things started to get really bad in the house. Stuff started moving, faucets turned on, the temperature in the house got really warm, and there were deafening noises all over the house. So the kids had to make a decision. They could stay there and possibly be harmed by whatever was in that house, or they could make a run for it. They chose the latter. Meg had on her clothes, some PJs, and decided she was not going back into her room to change, so she put on some of Joel's stuff. Joel put on his sneakers, and they hauled ass. They ran as fast as they could to get out of that house. Now, it was 11 p.m. when the kids left the house, and they experienced no relief. There was not a moment of peace for them. As they started running away from the house, things got really tense. On the left side and left side only, it sounded like a barrage of birds just screeching, and they got louder and louder. And as they made it to a clearing, they noticed that there were dogs that were running, and they wanted to run along with them. But as they got closer to the dogs, they noticed that the dogs were running backwards, and it always felt like there was this ever-present force that was following them. But Joel, maybe perceptive on his own, realized that if they could get to the streetlight down the street, then they might be safe. But it was strange because as they started to run, even faster still, there was something holding them back. They could not get to that lamp regardless of what happened. But luckily for the kids, there was some unseen force that gave them the extra push they needed to get to that light. But as they got under the light, they had to make another decision. They could stay under the light that was quickly dimming and risk whatever it was back behind them, or they could make a run for the local college. So the kids, thinking very fast on their feet, decided that is exactly what they would do, is make a run for the college. Now, as they left the quickly dimming light, even more things started to happen. The birds, which were already loud already and shouldn't have been there, started to get even louder. Again, only from the left side. The dogs that they had heard running had started to do even weirder stuff, and eventually they managed to get to the college. Joel was in slightly better shape because he had on shoes when he left the house, but his sister, she was struggling. She ran out of the house with her bare feet and Joel's sweatpants on and maybe a top. And so she was sitting outside on some concrete steps. Joel went into the police station and asked them to call their parents. Now again, the parents were at a friend's house. They were having a good time, so they were not trying to be bothered with their two children. But them being called by the police and the urgency of it all, again, bought them to pick up their children, and the children and the parents went back home. And that's how we get to the current point. Now at this point, Lorraine has finished her investigation of the house. So once Lorraine finishes her investigation, she comes downstairs and her and Ed start to communicate with the family. Lorraine tells them, yes, there's something definitely in your house and it is not a human spirit. Basically, it's something very malevolent. And Ed is like, all right, I know what you guys need to do. You're going to have to get out for the afternoon. I got to stay here and cleanse your house. What I need you to do while you're gone is not think of anything going on here. I need you to clear your mind, be in a positive headspace, and just get as far away from here as possible for at least a couple of hours. So after that happened, Ed and Lorraine would go room to room to room and bless the house. They did what was called a binding. And basically they would take a religious relic that they had an exorcist blessed holy water, which is different than regular holy water, and they would bless each room in the house. And there was only one of two things that the thing in the house could do. It would either be banished or it would show itself. So they did this to all of the rooms, and then they get to Meg's room. And they do the binding on Meg's room, and the thing manifests itself, and Ed binds it. Now, the problem with binding is that binding is binding, right? It's not banishment, it's binding. Ed is not a priest. He's pretty powerful, though. But the thing is successfully bound, thankfully. But while Ed is in the room, he takes all of Meg's books, which, by the way, she had amassed a small collection thanks to Mommy, and he takes them, puts them downstairs, and the family comes back in at that moment. So Ed tells the family exactly what he's done and how he's bound the spirit, this inhuman spirit, and how it will lie dormant so long as the family's emotional state is in good standing. So they need to get out, go to church, make sure they're staying happy and healthy, and that the environment remains positive. Otherwise, that binding can become undone. He also recommends that they go to the local priest and gets him to bless the house a couple of times and make sure everything stays intact. And basically, he sets the stack of books on the table that belong to Meg and says, look, these things are always going to be able to come back if you allow them. You need to get rid of these things. And that's the end of the story. And luckily, presumably, the family never experienced anything else. So the moral of this story is be careful what you play with. If you're not experienced in whatever it is, please do not attempt it. Leave it to the experts. There are plenty of them out there. And of course, always protect yourself.
One of the questions that I often get is, can a elf on the shelf doll conjure up something? Now, you have to understand that these dolls are like any other doll. They essentially are a vessel for something evil or negative to inhabit. And when you are doing elf on the shelf, you are essentially dabbling in the occult. Now, this is a story I heard out of Austin, Texas. There was this family who lived in the suburbs of Austin. And the man was named Mike, his wife was named Donna, and they had a young son named Robbie. Well, they decided to get one of these elf on the shelf dolls, and they began doing harmless little pranks on Robbie. The wife, Donna, she thought like it was just, really funny, and she was having a good time with it. Mike was kind of, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, are we kind of dabbling in something we shouldn't? So this one particular night, they take the doll, which they had called Bernard, and they put it in Robbie's room. And they say, good night, Robbie, good night, Bernard, and they leave the bedroom. At about 12:30 a.m. that night, they hear Robbie screaming, and he comes running into their bedroom. He's like, Mom, Dad, like the doll was moving by itself and it growled at me. And they're like, what are you talking about, son? And he's like, it was moving by itself and it was growling. And Donna's like, well, I think Bernard's a friendly elf. I don't think he would be growling at you, trying to scare you. And she said the rest of the night, right, he was scared. He would not leave their bedroom. But, Donna at the time didn't really think anything of it. Mike, however, thought like, maybe we've gone too far, like we shouldn't be doing this. He tells Donna, and Donna's like, oh no, it's harmless, like we're not doing anything wrong. So a couple days later, they decide we're going to take Bernard, and we're going to bring him in the kitchen, we're going to knock over some flour, and we're going to make like little footprints like he'd been walking around the kitchen, like kind of making messes. So they get that all set up, and they go to bed. Mike wakes up in the middle of the night, and he hears what sounds like someone walking around in the house. So he gets up, and, he starts looking around the house. He doesn't see anything. He thinks, oh, maybe it was just a cat. He goes back to bed. The next morning, Mike wakes up, and on the foot of their bed is Bernard. And he's just sitting up, staring at him. And when he gets up out of bed, Mike goes into the living room, where he discovers like white little footprints that look like they've been, stepping in flour. And it's going directly to the bedroom to the side of his bed. So Mike goes to his wife and was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. Like, you're playing a prank on me. I don't think it's funny. No more of this doll business. And he looks at Donna, and then he could tell, like, this wasn't a joke that she had played. So Mike decides, you know what, I'm taking this doll, I'm putting it in the garage in storage, and we're not playing with it anymore. So he takes Bernard, he puts him out in the garage in this box, and that was the last of it, or so he thought. A couple days later, he's sleeping, and he wakes up to beep, beep, like the horn in his car that's parked in the garage is honking. So Mike gets up, he goes out to the garage expecting to find someone having broken in or something, except when he goes in the garage, it's completely empty. So as Mike's exiting the garage and he's walking back to the bedroom, he said out of the corner of his eye, he's seen the shadow of something kind of move past him. And he said he hurried up and ran in the bedroom and closed the door. The next morning, he wakes up. There is Bernard sitting on the foot of his bed, staring at him. So he takes the doll and he puts it back in the garage, except this time he puts it in a toolbox and locks the toolbox. Well, a couple days later after this, he said he went to bed and he woke up to the sensation of a burning feeling on his leg. When he sits up in the bed, he said he looked over and he seen this hooded black figure, and he said it was just standing in the corner of the room and it was holding Bernard. And he said when he looked down at his leg, there were all of these scratches all up his leg. And he wakes up his wife, and when his wife, wakes up, whatever this is gone. But Bernard is there on the floor. And so Mike's like, you know what? We're getting rid of this doll. So he took the doll to the dump and got rid of it. And he calls up his friend, who actually was like a pastor at the time, and had him come over and do a blessing over the whole house.
You know the Andy Williams song, The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, and the lyrics, "There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago." Where exactly did that come from? Did you know that Christmas wasn't always the family-friendly holiday that we know today? In fact, it used to be a lot darker, and ghost stories were a huge part of it. For centuries, winter was seen as a time for sad and scary tales, perfect for the long, dark, and cold nights. And back then, people worked through Christmas, and the holiday was seen as anything but wholesome. The Puritans even tried to cancel Christmas because it had become a time of debauchery and scandal. But during the Victorian era, spiritualism was at its peak, and Charles Dickens changed everything. In 1854, he even called Christmas the witching time for storytelling. A Christmas Carol not only transformed Christmas into a family-centric celebration, but it also solidified the tradition of telling ghost stories. This tradition has roots in ancient pagan customs surrounding the winter solstice, believed to be a time when the veil between the two worlds was thinner. It was the perfect setting for eerie tales of the unknown, so why not bring it back? Light a candle, gather your spooky crew, and share some ghostly tales this holiday season. After all, Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. Or a scare. Merry Creepmas!
I'm getting ready to show you a picture of a dark, evil entity caught on camera at Christmas time. It's proof that not all visitors come to bring joy and cheer during the holiday season. The following picture I'm getting ready to show you comes from one of my followers out of Ontario, Canada. She and her other family members were staying over at her oldest daughter's house just before Christmas about 2 years ago. There was a really bad winter storm going on, the weather was terrible, and she's just relaxing in the living room. You're going to see the Christmas tree, all the Christmas lights. It's very beautiful. On the right side of the picture, you're going to see her youngest daughter laying on the couch asleep. Now, she was just doing what we all do during the holiday season. Christmas lights, Christmas trees. She's just snapping a bunch of pictures. And she actually didn't catch this until a few days later. But she caught something that will send chills down her spine. I want you guys to watch this because this is truly incredible. This is one of the best captures I've seen in a while. Check this out. This right here, now you can't see her, but her youngest daughter is laying on the couch behind where I'm at. But I want you to look right over here. Like, there's this huge, dark figure. Now, I'm going to zoom in more for you, but this is absolutely incredible. And she also said that while she was taking these series of pictures, her oldest daughter's Rottweiler was laying beside of her, and it randomly got up and went to lay in front of the couch where her youngest daughter was. And that might not seem like a big deal, really, and she didn't think nothing of it at the time, but after she discovered these pictures, she thinks it's because the dog also picked up on this evil presence and was trying to protect her youngest daughter right over here. But I really want you to take a look at this thing. Take a screenshot if you need to. I'm going to zoom in on the foot down here in just a moment to show you. Like, it's totally incredible. Like, you can see, well, I'll just show you. I've zoomed in on what would be the right foot, but look at that. Like, it's dark, but transparent also. If you look toward the front of the foot where the toes kind of go up, you can see the light reflecting on the floor from the Christmas lights, but yet you can make out that it's still a foot. This is one of the best captures that I've seen in a long time. Seriously, check out the feet. Take a screenshot, zoom in, tell me what you think in the comments. And this lady asked me, she said, what do you think this is? And I told her my views on ghost and paranormal activity. I believe it's demonic. And she agreed because she said she Didn't even realize it at the time, but she had a very off-putting feeling during this encounter. If you have any paranormal evidence or story you'd like to share, my email is listed in my bio. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. God bless.
I grew up in a haunted house, and I want to tell you a Christmas ghost story that I always think about this time of year. Just to give a little bit of context, the house I grew up in was built in the 1800s, and we experienced paranormal activity there all the time. That's part of what got me interested in the paranormal to begin with. My mom has always been a Christmas fanatic, so anytime Christmas came around, she would always deck the house out. Every single room was decorated with different Christmas decorations, from the kitchen all the way to the bathroom. The experience I'm going to talk about today happened probably about 12 to 15 years ago, and it was probably around 7 p.m., 7:30, around dinner time. Me, my mom, my dad, it was just us sitting around the dinner table having dinner together. Well, as we were sitting there talking, having dinner, all of a sudden we get interrupted by a huge crash that happened out in the hallway that was right outside of the kitchen. When we first heard the noise, we kind of all got startled. We looked at each other puzzled and wondering what in the world that noise was, and I was the first one that got up from the table to go investigate the sound. As I mentioned, my mom had all sorts of Christmas decorations, and part of that collection was those creepy motionette animatronic dolls that moved back and forth. She had one that was Santa Claus, one that was Mrs. Claus, and then she had this one right here that's just this young girl dressed in a Christmas outfit that's holding a candle. When I went into the hallway to investigate what that sound was, that was that doll getting flung across the hallway, probably 8 feet across the hallway, and crashing to the ground. It got flung so hard that it flipped over on its face, it was turned completely 180 degrees, and the cord had been removed from the wall. It was no longer plugged in, and it had about a 6-foot cord. We didn't have any large animals or dogs in the house that could have knocked it over. We just had one small little poodle that was very senior in his life, and he was pretty much held the whole time, and he was in the kitchen with us. There wasn't really any reasonable explanation on how that doll got flung all the way across the hallway and unplugged from the wall. Naturally, I just set the doll back up, plugged it back in the wall, it started working again, and we went back to eating dinner. Just another normal day in a haunted house. If you grew up in a haunted house, I'd love to hear your stories. Comment below and tell me about your experiences. Merry Christmas, y'all. Have a good one.
10 disturbing Christmas traditions from around the world. 1. Krampus, Austria and Germany. Script: in Austria, Santa doesn't just bring gifts, he brings a demon. Krampus roams the streets on December 5th, beating children with chains, dragging some away in baskets to be punished for a full year. Every Christmas season, people dress as Krampus and chase crowds through the streets. This is Europe's darkest holiday tradition, and it's still celebrated today. 2. The Yule Lads and Grilla, Iceland. Script: Iceland doesn't have one Santa, they have 13 Yule Lads, each one a goblin with a specific crime. They lick spoons, slam doors, steal food, and peek through windows. Their mother, Grilla, is a giant ogress who eats misbehaving children at Christmas. Forget Santa. Iceland's Christmas is pure nightmare fuel. 3. La Befana, Italy. Script: while we wait for Santa, Italy waits for a witch. La Befana rides a broom, enters homes through chimneys, and leaves gifts or coal. According to legend, she refused to join the wise men to visit baby Jesus. So now she's cursed to roam the earth forever, searching for the child she never met. 4. The Mari Lwyd, Wales. Script: in Wales, a skeletal horse covered in ribbons knocks on your door at Christmas and challenges you to a rhyming battle. If the horse wins, it gets to come into your house and drink your beer. Locals call it the Mari Lwyd, the ghost horse of Christmas. Imagine opening your door to a corpse on a stick that wants to out-rap you. 5. Kalikansaroy, Greece and the Balkans. Script: in Greece, goblins climb down chimneys at Christmas. The Kalikansaroy come out only during the 12 days of Christmas to terrorize families, stealing food, ruining decorations, scaring children. Some old traditions say priests burned incense and even animal hair to drive them out of the home. 6. Night of the Radishes, Mexico. Script. In Mexico, Oaxaca celebrates Christmas with grotesque radish carvings. For over 100 years, artists carved demons, executions, and twisted biblical scenes from giant red radishes. It's beautiful and deeply unsettling. Christmas vegetables have never looked so cursed. 7. Japan's Christmas KFC tradition. Script. In Japan, Christmas dinner isn't turkey, it's KFC. Millions of families order buckets of fried chicken because of a marketing campaign from the 70s that convinced people Americans ate KFC at Christmas. Now families wait hours in line for a fast food tradition created entirely by accident. 8. Tio de Nadal, Spain. Script. In Catalonia, families put a smiling face on a wooden log, feed it every night, and beat it with sticks on Christmas morning until it poops presents. This log is called Tio de Nadal, the Christmas poop log. Kids literally sing, "Poop out candy log, or we'll hit you again." Holiday spirit is wild in Spain. 9. The Christmas spider legend, Ukraine. Script. In Ukraine, Christmas trees are decorated with spider ornaments and shimmering webs. It comes from a legend of a poor family who couldn't afford decorations. They woke up to find the tree covered in magical spider webs that turn gold in the sunlight. Some believe the webs attract the spirits of the dead who return home for Christmas night. 10. The burning of the Gavla goat, Sweden. Script. Every year, Sweden builds a giant 40-foot straw goat to mark the start of Christmas. And every year, someone tries to burn it down. Despite cameras, guards, fences, the goat has been torched, bombed, shot with fireworks, hit by cars, and once attacked by a man dressed as Santa carrying a crossbow. Sweden's holiday tradition? Chaos.
Hope you enjoyed tonight's stories. Let me know in the comments below which was your fave. Good night, and stay eerie.